Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next webinar in ClickData's webinar series. Today, we're going to be talking about the new features as well as the roadmap for the remainder of 2021. Today, I'm joined by our CTO, Telmo Silva, as well as the VP of Professional Services, Sri Neve. On today's agenda, we will be talking about some of the new features that we've already released, what we're going to be releasing, and of course, finally, data flow. So at the very end, we will have the Q&A. If you have any issues with audio or video, please feel free to give us a message in the chat channel. We'll try to alleviate it on the fly as we go. But with this, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Sri Neve, our Vice President of Professional Services.
Thanks, Rob, for the introduction. Hi, everyone. I'm really excited today. The first half of the year has been great for us. We had 5 different releases across January to May. We have one more coming up in June, and we have delivered over 35 new features in these releases. We have gotten your feedback. We have heard every customer. We have heard everything that you have to say. We have made sure that the platform is stable. We got more than 540 plus fixes and performance improvements done. And we've also noticed an increase in performance in the dashboard and data processing by over 25% with the improvements that we've done on the operations side. I'm going to highlight a few things that we released in this first half of the year. We had a few major feature releases. I want to just highlight all of those one by one. The first feature is on the data side. We got a feature release called as Connection Broker. A lot of customers were managing multiple databases or they're managing multiple clients. And before, what you had to do was you had to connect to each individual database, each individual table from the database, and then do a union on ClickData. We realized there's a trend about this, and a lot of clients would like to just combine the databases together and get it into a single table with ease. That's why we created the connection broker. A connection broker can go to multiple databases that you have on your account, execute the same query, and create a single table for you. The uses for this are wide. You can now get a table created with 10 clients. You can create a dashboard consisting of all the 10 clients together. And it just becomes easier for you to set up a multi-tenant environment now because you don't have to go through the manual work of connecting to each client individually. Just do it once, set up the databases, and it's all ready for you. The next connector we released was a GraphQL connector. We already had a web services connector, which could handle REST API, which could handle SOAP API. And everyone is moving towards GraphQL. The new applications have started supporting GraphQL. We realized that a lot of customers were also asking and looking for the GraphQL connector. We created the GraphQL connector, which allows you to now set up pagination, different kind of authentication method. It's very similar to a web service connector that you might have used in the past, but it just allows you to now go ahead and slice and dice your data from the GraphQL calls and get the data onto ClickData automatically. We also improved our PostgreSQL and Amazon Redshift connection. The Amazon Redshift connector we had was not loading the data fast enough. So we refactored the connection so that we can get your data loading faster. In PostgreSQL, we also improved and refactored it, added a few more options for you, and just becomes easier now to go ahead and connect to these two databases. Along with the data connection and data improvements, we noticed that a lot of clients were connecting to calendar tables, for example, to go ahead and create a calendar table so that they could do a join with their existing table. Some of you were connecting to country demographic data to get comparisons on what's the population in a specific country and how are my cities doing compared to the population or to the market size. So we noticed a few different data templates that have been widely used, and we decided to create our own data library. Now with data template, you could go in and add a new data template to your ClickData account. You can add calendars, you can add data pulled from publicly available data sources, you can add country demographics data, and all of these data sources are directly pulled from the source. So they are live data sources and they update on a regular interval on your account. The next one around data was our manual and auto cache feature. Initially, we started off with the caching mode so that we could allow users to improve their performance when they're trying to build the data model on click data. At several intervals, you could cache your data, and caching your data allowed you to process the dashboards faster because rather than going to a set of rules, click data was going to a cache table. We noticed that a trend amongst using multiple layers on the ETL model, and rather than setting everything to automatic, we introduced a mode manual so that you can set up a manual task for your cache. Now your cache doesn't have to update every time the data is updating. If you're connecting to 5 primary data sets and if you're updating them one by one, you could add a task on your scheduler so that your cache updates after the 5th data set has refreshed. This allows you to speed up the processing time on your account. It allows you to consume less refreshes and also allows you to organize when and what time the data should be cached so that your customers can see the cache data at the right time. The next feature was around team folders. We already had team folder security. We enhanced it. We've been going through a few different enhancement phases on the security by introducing user roles, by introducing different sort of parameters onto the account. We started this around August last year. We released a few different features around security. And one of the features that was asked most frequently was rather than giving access to users and teams on an individual level, you would like to give access on a folder level. So this is what we've done on the team folders enhanced security. Now you can go ahead and give access to your users at a folder level. You can set automatic visibility on the folder level so that anyone who has access to the folder would also be able to see the objects inside the folder. And this just becomes easier for your admins. If you're working with admins, you can give your admins access to the folder level so that they can go ahead and see all the dashboards and data sets that are within that particular folder. We're also going to come up with a super user that will be available in the coming release. Thelma is going to touch base on that. He'll talk a little bit about what are the new features that we're going to have in the next 6 months. The next feature we improved upon was our exports and notification. As you know, we have the ability to export metadata on the data side, on the dashboard side. It allows you to see what's the total storage that each of your data set is using, which data sets have history enabled. On the dashboard side, it allows you to get some metrics, how many times the dashboards have been viewed, or which dashboards have live link, what's the live link for the dashboard. We got feedback from you that you wanted to include additional columns on these export. We've taken that feedback and we have refactored the export facility to allow for more information that would be added to the exports now. Along with the exports, we also improved our notification. Initially, the notifications were at a categorical level. We had either you could set up notifications for publication schedules, data by email all together, or account usage and security changes. They were grouped together. But considering that we're getting a lot of users on each click data account, and you would like to have more control on what kind of publications go out, what kind of notifications go out, we have split the notification into more granular control. Now you can go ahead and set that in your account settings. You can decide if your users should receive publications, if it should be on by default, if you want them to have access to this so that they can decide for themselves if they want the publications or not, you can go ahead and set that on now. We did a lot of work on personalization. We believe that having a click data account, you should be able to personalize it, customize it however you want. You should be able to rebrand the product as yours. Your clients, your internal users should feel that click data is part of this organization. We've been adding a lot of personalization features in the last year. We've added the ability to set login pages. We have refactored login pages last year. We have added the ability to add logos on login pages, add your own text on login pages. A feedback that we received was how could you start customizing the footers on each of the email that is sent out of from Click Data. We have added a new feature now where you can not only set up your own email address, you can set up your own custom email address so that the emails don't go from system@clickdata.com, but rather come from dashboards or support@yourcompany.com. Along with that, you could also add a text at the bottom where you could specify that this email is received from your company. You can customize it, you can add your own logos. So when your users, internal or externals, receive the email, they feel that it's coming from your organization. As I said, the personalization is, we strongly believe that you should be able to personalize the product as much as you can. We have also given you now the ability to add homepage per user and per role. Initially, the default homepages were set on account level, but now we have changed that so that you could set the homepages by role. If you access your role screen on Click Data, you can choose what kind of homepage does each of your roles get. For instance, the editors or admins could have access to all dashboards, but you could set up a role which is specifically for your clients, and you can create a specific menu for them so that you can say the clients, when they log in, they go directly to a customized menu that we have set for that particular client. Along with personalization, we've been all improving a lot on the dashboard. We have made a lot of bug fixes. We have made a lot of performance improvements on the dashboard, but we have also released new features in the last 6 months. We have refactored our filter panel. You have used the filter panel in the past, you've used it a lot, and one of the suggestions we received was giving you the ability to customize that filter panel, have a better design, have more options so that you can select if your filter panel can contain dropdowns along with lists. And with our V2 version that is out there, you can now have a better design, better control on how you want to display your filter panel, and also have option to set your filter panel objects as list or dropdowns. We've also refactored the way we work with filter panel on the backend. We now have queries that are enhanced so that when you're using filter panel on your dashboards would load faster. We've done that across the board, not just filter panels. We've also done that on our dropdown. We've also done that on the list. You might have not seen the changes on the front end, but on the back end, those are new versions, and they are much faster than what they used to be before. Along with the filter panels, we also have introduced new formulas. Every time you're creating a dashboard, you would like to get the state of a widget. We have a new formula called as widget, name visible, which allows you to get a state of a particular widget. What this allows you to do now is if you're creating multiple objects layered on top of each other, you can choose to display a specific set of layer of widgets only when a certain object is visible. If you're using a switch, you could say when this particular switch is visible, you would like to display 5 different charts on the same dashboard. It allows you to create more drill down variations on your dashboard and gives you more control on creating visibility formulas within your dashboard. We've also introduced 2 basic formulas on month, which allows you to now get the name of the week or the name of the month so that you can use that for formulas, comparison with different month labels, comparison with different day labels, and display that on the dashboard. I personally like this chart improvements that we had. This is one of the features that I really love. It's the axis scale. We did not have an axis scale initially on your categories, but now we have introduced an axis scale on the categories. What this allows you to do is if you have, let's say, if you're conducting a survey and you have your customers responding to the survey from 1 to 5, now it allows you to fill up missing values. If no one has answered 3 or 4, initially what you would have seen is only 1, 2, or 5. You would have missed out the 3 and 4 bars because no one answered that. But when you set it to linear now, Click Data automatically recognizes that the max value for this particular chart is 5, and it automatically fills in the missing values so that you get a continuous chart that you can display. This goes beyond linear. If you're working with dates, if you don't have sales for a particular date or particular month, now you can set up an axis scale of date time so that we can fill in this missing dates. So it looks like a continuous chart for you, and you can easily identify if there were specific dates which had no sales. When you share a dashboard with your end users, for large dashboards, if you're working with multiple objects, if you're working on a data set behind that is up to 4 million rows, a billion rows, there is some time that it takes for the dashboard to load. Until now, you see the widgets loading and widgets popping one by one as they load. But to make it better for your end users, we have introduced a loading panel. You can customize this loading panel however you want. You can set your own background color. You can add your own GIF images to this. You can display a loading panel until the time that the data is loaded behind. And only once the complete dashboard is loaded, this loading panel disappears. So your end users get a seamless experience where they can see the entire dashboard loaded at once. The next widget improvement that we had was around button. Initially, our button widget used to run schedule. It used to allow you to navigate from one dashboard to the other dashboard, open external URLs, or log out. But we saw a use case where you could do more with the button. Now, with the addition of data forms, you can actually get data from Click Data. You can call a web service if you want to push that data externally to your own platform, to your own CRM system, and you can have a delay set and then reload the dashboard with the latest data. This extends more than just the data form. If you're using input widgets on your dashboard and based on certain actions done on the input widget, you would like to post that information on an external application. Again, you can set a first action as a web service, decide what needs to happen, and you can post that information on external applications as well. So this allows you better collaboration on the dashboard side as well. Initially, most of the collaboration is on the data side where we're connecting to different applications and getting the data. But even our dashboards are starting to get more collaborative, where you can have certain actions that can happen when your end users are interacting with the dashboard. One of the features we released, last release itself, is the data form widget. Until now, Click Data was mostly a data analytics tool. We used to display the data, and for data collection, you had to rely externally. But now with the data form widgets, you can also have the dashboard collect data directly from the dashboard using forms. The collected data gets uploaded directly on your dashboard live, and your dashboard will always display up-to-date information. So now you have multiple use cases for them. If your sales team is taking orders, you could create a data form widget to take multiple orders, and your sales team can directly enter the orders on Click Data dashboards. As soon as they enter the order, they can see the stats changing on the dashboard. They can see how many orders are pending, how many orders are delivered, what's the status with the orders, how many orders are in place, what's the total revenue that they're generating. You could also extend this to conduct surveys. If you are sending the dashboard to your clients who would wish to answer specific questions, you can create a question form and you can send it out to your end users. They can fill in surveys and they can see live how the data is changing or what people are responding. So this is how our last 6 months went in. We got a lot of features released. We had a lot of bug fixes, and the next 6 months are even more exciting. We have a lot new features coming up. I'm going to give it to Thelmo so that he could talk about what are the new features we're going to have in the next half of the year.
Hi, everyone. Thanks very much for joining. I was wondering maybe this would be a good time to answer some of the questions that we see on the chat. Rob, maybe I can go through some of them, and maybe Sri you can help me answer them.
Yeah, absolutely. We actually have had quite a number of questions around the connection broker, and they want to really kind of understand more about that, and probably talk about how that may or may not replace Fusion, as well as some of the other features. I think that immediately got some people's attention.
All right. So the questions are whether a connection broker is basically a replacement for Fusion. In essence, that is correct. We are bringing the data at a much higher level. We're going to each database, which avoids you having to create multiple data sets and connections for each data set. You still need the connections, but you don't need to create a data set for each copy of the system. So yes, in essence, it is another way to do Fusion, but a way to do Fusion at the data loading time. And the connection broker is included on Enterprise, but you can ask as an added option on the team tier as well. But the connection broker is included on the Enterprise. Sri, maybe you want to answer the other one on the difference between the data form widget and the scheduling system.
The data form widget is different than scheduling. Scheduling allows you to go to your existing data set. So if you're connecting, let's say, a CRM tool, and you have a table coming in from your CRM tool, the scheduling system allows you to set up automation so that click data can go back to your CRM tool and pull the data every day, every minute, based on the frequency you set. But the data form is part of the objects within click data. When you're creating a chart on the dashboard, very similar to creating a chart, now you can add a widget called as data form. When you share the dashboard with your end users, they can write in data on the dashboard side. We never had the ability to fill data or fill values on the dashboard side. Now your end users can go ahead and fill values, submit responses to a survey, submit responses to a form, and whatever data is collected, it's stored on your click data account. Think about it almost like a Google form or survey Gizmo kind of application that we are providing you.
And one last question, which is, there's within the new filter panel, is it possible to filter down options based on previous selected filters within the panel? And the answer to that is yes. The filter panel is basically building a combination of all the possible data that exists in each of the filters that you've added to that. So if you filter on one, it will filter the selection on all the other ones that are dependent on that. All right, so we have 25 minutes left, so I'd like to take the opportunity now once again to thank you for the time you've taken to come in to this webinar. And as Rob says, it is going to be available, so you can use some of the things that I'm going to say here later against me and demand for your features sometime soon. So what's coming up in the next 6 months? What are we working on? We actually have quite a few things. This is just kind of a short list, but let's get right to it. The first thing is we're going to have some new connectors, some new old connectors in a sense. Google Ads, there's a new V2 coming on. That's going to be released July of this year. And the Google Analytics V2. So our data team is working hard at getting those two out the door just before summer ends. Google Analytics, the V2, will also be compatible with the GA4, the new Google Analytics 4 version 4 that it has how to track visitors on websites and so forth. We're also completely revamping our NetSuite connector. Our NetSuite connector needs some TLC, some performance boosts, and we're hoping to deliver that by October. And finally, we're hoping to deliver Amazon Seller Central before the end of the year. So those are the 4 connectors, plus any improvements that we have on existing connectors, as always, that we do as part of our regular updates. Now, we've talked a lot about data form widgets. So today, with the data form widget, you can pick a data source and design a form in different layouts and store data, edit data, or view data directly from Click Data. You no longer need to store this outside of Click Data and build Google Forms or Stack Form or any other tool for this. but it needs a few other things, other features that we're working on. The first two that we're delivering sometime in July is default values and validation. Again, we validate the data based on just the type of data that data set can store, but maybe you want to have some validation as to, well, it must be within these levels or these ranges of values and so forth. Or maybe you need to validate against another table from a list of values that you've selected. So we're going to be working a lot on validation and setting the default values when you click new to auto-populate some fields with some data. Phase 3, which is later in the summer or beginning of school year, we have the transaction logging and the conditional display and format. Transaction logging is to track every time that somebody changes a row, a field of data, or adds a new record, that we store that as a transaction. And this is going to be a paid feature because this obviously will require us to add more data, more tables, more database space for your account, and a different type of, we're no longer talking about, as Sri pointed out, we're getting out of analyticals and going back into transactional. So a lot of tools embed analytics in other applications. We'd like to embed applications into our analytics. And conditional display and format, if certain conditions, if you put a certain value here, that other fields disappear or appear or turn red, green, yellow, blue. And finally, phase 4 would be calculated fields and interactions. Additional interactions, such as after they put new, we also post to a web service something, or we Slack, or we do something like that. So a lot of work coming down on the data form. We've been collecting over the last, since we've released it 2 months ago, we've been collecting a lot of feedback from users, and we're going to be advancing on some of those feedback requests very soon. We also are going to refactor alerts and schedules. This has been a long time coming. Alerts is actually going to be released in July, where we have a new Explorer and new set of types of alerts. We have a new macro designer as well, and as part of the customization to allow you to build more custom emails, so you can actually send emails to your users when a certain alert is met, when a certain condition. We also can store values. When this alert was triggered, what was the value of this data set and aggregation, and you can use that value, store it somewhere, or even send it along with your email notification. And along with emails, we're also going to allow you to post to a web service as well as send it as a Slack. If you are using Teams, Microsoft Teams, you will be able to use the web service initially to connect to Teams as well. Potentially, we'll also add Teams support to both alerts and schedules. On the schedule side, it's the same thing. We're just going to add a few more tasks and improve the interface, especially viewing the history of the schedules, which today we realize it's not ideal on the UI. So we're going to improve that and make that part of the refactor work to be done. So this is the data flow, the infamous data flow that we've been working for well over a year and a half. This masterpiece of work here has been in the works for a long time. There's been a lot of blocks along the way. Some have been on the UI side, where we've been waiting to refactor some of the other things that you've seen to get to this phase. Others have been on the fact that we needed to have some data work being done in the background before this is released. But we're well advanced in our design. The designer piece is finished. Here's a screenshot that you can see here. The ability, the logic to link the nodes, and like this, for example, this is one example where you start with an input table and you filter certain data sets into one output table, and you do some additional calculations, and then another one which simply goes straight into. So this is a very simplified one, but in essence, what this will do eventually is also replace merge and fusion and views. Of course, this is basically what this will replace. Because all the tables as outputs will be physical basically physically persisted, there's no need for cache either on this, because when the data flow runs, the data will be stored physically into those tables. So what are we working on? Before we can release it, even as a beta, there's some leftover work to be done on filters, advanced, and calculated columns, and we're moving on to aggregated columns, data cleansing, cleaning columns, lookups, and then some pivoting and some grouping of rows and splitting columns to tables. But we'll probably deliver a beta release before we finish the full set of work there. We will most likely put a first beta release as soon as we have aggregated columns and clean column sometime before August. So we're looking forward to do this. We will not recommend at that time, unlike our other functionality, to use this for immediate production use. There'll be a big announcement on that, and most likely a lot of documentation on using data flow. But we're hoping that this eventually can also replace a lot of the work, a lot of the data views and merges and fusions that we have today. So this next year will lead into a lot more other functions as well. So again, this is the cornerstone of things to come in Qlik Data. So we're making sure we're doing it right, and that it's performant, and that it's going to do the job for many years to come. And that's why we're being potentially a little slower than normal in delivering this functionality right off the go. One thing that we're hoping to deliver very soon, definitely before the end of the summer, is a new module called Data Stream. If you have worked within data clones, you can create data live links for views, merges, fusions, and data sets. Data live links, when they're clicked on, will open your browser and display the data. And there are some limitations. You can only have up to 1 million rows, and it's all HTML, etc., or it's a CSV. We're doing away with live links, and we're changing this to what's called a data stream. And data stream is basically you can create multiple data streams for the same data or different data. So you can have multiple that are filtered against the same data set. But the difference between these data streams is that they can be consumed directly by other applications. One of those applications that we're testing against is our famous Excel. Now, we have had a lot of requests of people that still want to use Excel, and that's fine by us. We find it's a great tool. So why not use the file get data menu of Excel, type in your data stream live link, if you will, and immediately grabs the data into your Excel spreadsheet, and you can work with it there as well. And so for that, it's just it's not only for Excel, obviously. We will support a variety of stream formats, so you can use those tools as well. What else do we have coming up? Well, potentially our second largest, biggest module, aside from data flow, is reports. So reports work is starting this coming sprint, and reports is different from dashboards in the sense that you'll be able to define front and back cover pages. You'll be able to define groups, headings, and footers for every page, and some grouping levels and summations and so forth, aggregations and so forth. So this is a lot of work to build a fresh reporting system, and we've been designing this for over 5 months now, a little bit more than that. We've been collecting some requirements, and at the same time looking at some of the traditional packages that we've worked with in the past, and trying to understand what could we do better, and what should we simplify, and what should we not include. So we believe to have a good starting point, and we're looking forward to having a first view at this sometime October, November, potentially, with a full integration by the end of December. And by full integration, meaning we will be able to design, hopefully, our first reports prior to that. But in terms of scheduling, publications, and live links, that will potentially come into December and January. So that is our report designer and module. And finally, data insights. Data insights is something that has been, again, another one of those ideas that we've been trying to design the right way the first time. And we believe to have found something. What are data insights? Insights, think of it as a playground. Usually what happens is the first thing after we load data into Click Data, the first thing we do is we go in and validate and do some pivoting on a view, and just to take a look at the data and see how it pans out and so forth. Well, with Insights, you'll be able to do that and kind of start filtering, sorting, grouping, pivoting, etc. Against that data set, plus a few other things. You can think of it as a playground where you'll be able to hopefully immediately get some insights as to how you should build your dashboards, how to structure your data, etc. It has a very familiar drag and drop from your data that you've selected into different sections here that will then pivot or group or do the time analysis or relationship analysis on the right side, either via graphics, via charts, or via the table. One thing you notice here on the left side is that our first version will only allow for one table to be selected, and you do insights on that one table. But you notice that we put a tree structure there, and the reason why we're going with that is because we're hoping that as well, that as you discover some insights and you find that, oh yeah, but I didn't need this other table to complement this one, and I need to join very quickly done on the spot without having to create a data flow or a data merge for that. You'll be able to do that here. And once you have this done, the idea is that you could then, again, use these pivots and these charts directly against the dashboard and copy that into a dashboard. So our first beta version of the first two sections you see there, the pivot and filter, sort, and group, will be delivered by August. We're hoping to deliver the other two by December. And finally, some other small items. They're not small, but they don't warrant a full slide, so that means they're less important, right? The super user visibility. We heard a lot about the fact that we've tightened the security of Click Data quite a bit. We did this because we want to basically make sure that you, our customers, and ourselves, we can be easily certified, ISO certified, GDPR, California Protect. Like if you need to lock things down, that you have a control mechanism. So we had to go down to the very lowest level, lock down the folders, lock down the objects, and create the role concept of users and so forth. And now we can open it up again. Now that we have that mechanism, we know that we can always use it. We can create a role that if you enable that feature, and it is your choice to enable it, you can have all the users on that role now see all the objects in all the team folders without respecting the security of those individual folders. That is up to you to use it. So that is one of the feedbacks we got from tightening the security. We seemingly made it a little bit harder, yes. But as Sri showed as well, we have added some new features like the folder inherit security from the parent folder to all the objects. Into all the objects, much easier to handle. The custom home page. So now, again, as Sri mentioned, you can force a user a home page to all your users, or you can let them pick individually, or you can have a different home page per role. What's missing today is your ability to basically say, well, on the home page, I want this, I want that, I want this image, I want our logo, I want a web page, and I want a dashboard in the center. So that's what we're going to do. It's going to be, you can think of it like you can do that using a dashboard, a single dashboard, and put that one dashboard on all your users or roles. But this will allow you to do HTML and other things, including recently viewed, recently used, etc. So that will complete the full set of portal features that we will offer to all our customers, and allowing to really make Click Data your portal of choice that is white labeled, that has all these features, that looks like yours. It's got the menus, it's got the home page. It has basically, you don't need to go out and buy another system to host your dashboards and your content, HTML, and so forth. And along with that, you'll most likely need the capability to also link PowerPoints, Excel, Word documents, other things directly from your dashboards, potentially, or from this new homepage. So we're refactoring the Media Manager to go beyond just images that you can embed in, that you can use in your dashboards, and will actually allow you to add more file types to your to the Media Manager. It'll be refactored to something else, not Media Manager, but most likely File Manager of some sort, and we'll be able to add some different types of files, store them, and make links to them via your dashboard. So that, in essence, is all the features we have planned for the next 6 months. Now, it seems like a lot, and it is a lot, and we're hoping to be able to deliver those on time. As always, many of those features will be delivered in a V1, V2, V3 method to start testing the impact on the databases, on the application and infrastructure, and on your day-to-day use. So we also capture some requirements as you go along and implement that. But along with that, we've also been working very hard on the infrastructure, the security, stability, and performance. We've been growing quite rapidly. We have customers in many different regions and countries, and of course, this as it's like basically its own environment where it keeps changing and it keeps having different impacts. We work with Microsoft, the Microsoft teams, quite closely to make sure that we can deliver the best we can for the value that we're paying for. So where are we going with this, and what are the next phases in this area? Just to give you a little bit of a landscape, the red boxes is where we currently host shared databases, your premium, team, and enterprise subscriptions. And then we also have redundancy in those regions in terms of data centers. We then also offer dedicated databases in Canada, UK, Netherlands, Germany, and France. And soon we'll be able to do this in Singapore, Brazil, and Australia, potentially by end of year or beginning of next year in some of those countries. So this is a lot of infrastructure to manage globally, but we will continue to have this infrastructure, all relying on Microsoft Azure. And as part of that, we have also began to upgrade all our infrastructure to be ready for 2022 and 2023. We have moved everything from the next generation, from Gen 4 to Gen 5, which now has faster processors. And that includes not only the things that process your data loads and send emails and things like that, but it's also the databases that you rely upon. So faster disks as well that Microsoft is starting to launch. So this is very exciting for us because it's something that immediately gives us some benefits without necessarily increasing any cost to us or any additional cost to you as well. We've updated our monitoring systems as well. You've noticed that on our webpage, we've now added a different layout. We've had a couple glitches over the last 6 months, maybe 2 or 3, and they were not properly recorded here. So we made sure that this is now properly recorded when there is a glitch, that we can see exactly where and which region. So we've also added regions to this to monitor the service status, as well as we've added some new alerting systems, automated alerting systems, to minimize any type of impact that you may face over the next use of Qlik data. We have also started approximately 2 months ago an automated QA project team, and the automated QA is basically going to reduce substantially the effort on our professional services and customer success teams, as well as our engineering team, in testing the application, at least in those areas which are easily replicated and easy to test. We're not going to be able to test all the different possibilities, even if we had access to all our customers' data, which we don't. We would never attempt to identify all the different use cases. We have a very good sample of different test cases. I forget exactly how many, but today we spent 560 person hours testing every single version that we put out every single month. This is time that's taken away from our customer success team, professional services, and engineering that is much better served in supporting our customers, in developing new features, and in making sure that the dashboards are working and delivered. So this is one of the ways that we're going to increase our internal performance. And by automating this test, we'll also be able to cover a lot more different browsers and browser scenarios than we typically would using people manual testing. So very excited about that. This is, and we can do that now as opposed to a year ago, mostly because the interface is becoming standardized due to all the refactorings that we've invested over the last 8 to 10 months. And finally, and related to this reason, running all those scenarios in all the different browsers does take a lot of time for the automated servers to go through all these features, and they have to repeat every single test multiple times with different browsers. Because of that time lag, we are now forced, and also because, as you've seen, we have much bigger features to deliver that require more time to develop than just the 3 weeks of development that we have every single month, taking away the 1 week of QAing and delivering and production a release. We are going to extend our release cycles roughly by a month and a half, more closer to 7 weeks, and also extending our QA to 2 weeks, from 1 week to 2 weeks. And that allows us to, deliver bigger features, test more, give more time for the QA automated testing to kick in and to iron out any basic and medium bugs that we may have introduced since the last release. And so the new schedule is now updated on our website. It's available at clickdate.com/bi/status, right at the bottom of the page. You'll know every single date. The time is also mentioned there. It's always a Tuesday between 9 UTC and noon UTC, I believe. So here are the dates. So we're going to go down approximately. This year we're still going to deliver 8 releases, but next year we'll most likely deliver 7 releases, 6 or 7 releases. And with that, and sorry I probably sped through that, but mostly excitement. We're ready for any questions you may have. I'll hand it back to Rob.
Telmo, Sri, thank you guys very much. This was awesome. A lot of really good comments, positive comments. People very much enjoyed the time. One question kind of just relates to the last slide you're on, Telmo, is since we're moving from 11 updates per year to 6, is that going to delay any features?
Not features. No, it should not delay any features. I mean, the reason why we're doing this is because we do want to deliver the more complete set of features. The biggest potentially challenge or potentially concern that we had was if we had, let's say, if Facebook changes their API, do we have to wait a full month and a half to accommodate that change into our connectors, etc., or something along those lines? And the answer is no. We'll still be able to apply patches to production every week if needed. Hopefully it's not needed, but we are able to solve and to address any immediate critical bugs that are needed, or anything that in terms of usability is impacting our customers. Within 24 hours, we are able to push a patch, an updated patch.
Great. We have another good question that came in, and it was around when you were speaking about DataStream. We have a user that is concerned that they currently are using live links to push the dashboards into their CRM system, and they want to know if they'll still be able to continue that, or will there be some work they have to do?
Absolutely. As with anything, we typically give a long period of transition unless we are not able to. In this case, we are able to maintain all the data live link features as they are today, as this is a completely different new module. It has nothing to do with live links. It's a completely brand new module that you'll be able to have and to use. And I'm sure once you get into it, you'll probably switch rapidly into this one. That's our hope. But we will definitely maintain the data live links for at least 12 months past the full delivery of data stream.
Well, that's awesome. So Ben, Jeffrey, and Celia, thank you very much for the other comments. Neil, I'm glad that you enjoyed our time together. We don't have any other questions or comments, and just to let everybody know, we will be publishing this via a recorded link that allows you to see the deck, to hear everybody, the comments, and you also can reach out to support or sales or via any of our social channels just to see if there's any additional help you might get. We're always here. We love the chat. We're proud of our product, and we do believe it's the best in the world. So thank you very much for helping us be part of that. And that's all for now. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.